Russian scientists found modern horses in layers lower than the so-called ancient horse. And here's how evolution is supposed to work. Your typical textbook have a cross-section showing the different layers of the earth, and they'll say this one is real old down here, and this one is the newest one on top. So, according to the theory, you should find modern horses up here, ancient horses down here, and it all sounds really good, but they don't find them in that order. They find what they call the so-called ancient horse, the Hyracotherum. Let's put an H right here for Hyracotherum, or for horse. And they find a modern horse under it. It wouldn't be directly under it, but it would be in the layer of rock that is under it, maybe someplace else. Okay? Obviously, buried in that same layer, though. So if modern horses are already on the scene before the ancient horse is around, how can this be the ancestor of this? It can't be true. The little Hyracotherum is not even a horse. It's just exactly like the Hyrax, little rock badger, I believe. They're still running around today in the country of Turkey and in East Africa. So if they're still alive, then it's certainly not the ancestor. You couldn't prove any evolution from the little bitty Hyracotherum. Fourthly, the number of ribs are different, the number of toes are different, and the teeth are very different. The little Hyracotherum has sharp-pointed teeth. The horse today has a flat chewing tooth for grinding, grasses. That's what it eats. They're not related to each other. Fifthly, down in South America, when they find the fossils, the three-toed horses are on top, the one-toed horses are on the bottom. Absolutely reverse order from what is predicted by the theory. Now, the way theories are supposed to work, you create a theory, you look for evidence. If you find evidence that says, hey, this theory is wrong, well, then you throw the theory away and you get a new one. And that happens all through science except when it comes to evolution. Because this theory is foundational for many other things, like a new world order coming soon to a city near you. Three-toed and one-toed horses are found side by side in the same strata. How can one be the ancestor to the other? Now, the evolutionists will say to this one, they'll say, well, that's because the three-toed were gradually being phased out and the one-toed, are better and they took over, but you just happened to find two in the same area during the time that they were being, phased out. Well, I'm sorry. You can believe that if you want, but that's not science. Frank Sherwin, a good friend of mine, has at the Institute for Creation Research, has a lot of information on the horse evolution if you want to get a hold of him. And there's in the book Noah to Abram, the turbulent years, which we offer through our ministry, it's a really good one that has a section on this horse evolution, which has been proven wrong some time ago. One man named Dan Hicks in Tulsa, Oklahoma, kept after the Tulsa Zoo, saying, why do you have this thing on display? It's been proven wrong years ago. I've got all the letters that Dan sent to the zoo, and the zoo sent back to him. When he wrote to the zoo director and said, why don't you take this display down? It's not true. Okay? The director of the zoo wrote back and said, we don't have the funding to remove it. I've got the letters in my file. How much funding does it take to remove a display? I'll go do it for him in 10 minutes, okay? So Dan had to get 2,000 signatures. He took up a petition. 2,000 people signed the petition saying, get this thing out of our zoo. Finally, they took it out. Now, if they had had a display in the zoo, like a Christmas scene representing Christ in the manger, one signature would have gotten it out. Right? Here you get 2,000 people complain before they finally reluctantly remove the display. But I was up at Peabody Museum. I've been there many times. Every time I go to the Connecticut area, I stop in the Peabody just to keep my blood boiling, because they still have the horse evolution on display there. New Haven, Connecticut. Yeah. Well, I stood there by that display. Hundreds of kids came through. School group after school group. All day long there's groups of parents and teachers bringing their kids to these museums. Never one word was said about this being wrong. But it was demonstrated to be wrong 50 years ago. How many kids have been brainwashed by seeing this? See, the average student in school, he reads his textbook and then he goes to a museum and he sees this stuff on display and he thinks, wow, it must be true, it's been proven. Icons of Evolution. It's only available in hardback, so it's kind of expensive, but it is really tremendous. He goes through 15 different chapters. Each chapter, one whole chapter about the horse evolution. One whole chapter about the gill slits, You want to document where things have been proven wrong? This guy has done a marvelous job. And I don't know if he's a creationist or an evolutionist. Doesn't matter. He's a researcher. Okay? You can get it through our ministry, through our bookstore out here. What they'll do, though, for the textbooks, they will arrange some animals in order. Like this one. Shows, the one bigger animal on top and a smaller animal on the bottom. Now, what's that do psychologically for the student who sees this? He thinks, wow, this is proof. Putting pictures on a page in a book is not evidence. It's evidence you have a good imagination. This is brainwashing, folks. First of all, they don't find animals in the order that they predict. And even if you do find an animal buried on top of another animal, that doesn't prove they're related. Doesn't prove anything. Look, if I get buried on top of a hamster, does that prove he's my grandpa? You don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure this out. It doesn't prove a thing. So just because you find fossil A here and fossil B here and fossil C here, so you found 3 bones in the dirt. That's all you found. Textbooks now are teaching that dinosaurs turned to birds. This article says dinosaurs are alive as birds. Well, I'm sorry, that is just simply a lie that has been proven wrong some time ago. That is ridiculous, of course, to change a dinosaur to a bird. Back in October '99, articles came out all over the papers, all over the world, saying that we have another missing link. We have proven evolution. We found a missing link between birds and dinosaurs.
They brought out a picture that showed a rock that showed a half dinosaur, half bird. And they had the whole publication was on that and how that proved this and that and the other thing. The following February, they printed a retraction, small, and it says, oh, it was a composite. No, it was actually a hoax.
National Geographic, October '99. Proof, breaking news, the missing link. We found it, folks. January 2000. Oops, sorry, it was a fake. They were fooled. Somebody had created this fossil. I guess they realized, there's only been a few of these Archaeopteryx fossils found, and they're selling, if you could buy one, for millions of dollars. So all one guy would have to do is take 5 years out of his life and very carefully construct a fraud fossil. And he could make a bunch of money. Retire, him and the whole family, retire for life. They had a deal in the paper a couple months ago about this fossil that's been on display for years in this museum. They're so proud of it. It's over 100 years it was on display. Then the plaster started falling off. They realized the whole thing had been faked 100 years ago. It lasted 100 years before it fell apart, so I'm sure the guy spent his money and retired a long time ago. Okay. See, some people are so anxious to believe this theory, they will not look critically at the evidence that's presented. Now, they will look critically at stuff for creation, but they don't look critically at stuff for their own theory.